The 10 best teams that lost to the 90s Bulls. This month, the wildly popular documentary The Last Dance is giving basketball fans around the globe a closer look at Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Because when you dominate an era with 6 championships in 8 years, there's plenty of story to tell. What fans often forget is how legendary teams had their title dreams crushed by the dominant Bulls. The 90s were stacked with Hall of Famers and franchise best squads that came up just short. Without the MJ-led Bulls, does Patrick Ewing finally get a ring? Or Reggie Miller? Do the Pistons achieve the three-peat? Today we take a look at the top 10 teams who had their championship runs cut short by the 90s Bulls. The 96 Magic. Before Diesel took the throne of NBA champion alongside Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, Shaq had his first sidekick in Penny Hardaway. Orlando truly won the lottery, receiving the first overall draft pick 2 years in a row, and were gifted immediate success. Shaq and Penny, alongside role players Nick Anderson, Horace Grant, and Dennis Scott, climbed to the top of the Eastern Conference and claimed the top seed in '95. The Magic capitalized on MJ's post-baseball play by sending the Bulls home in the second round, and a notable triumph for Grant, who finally got revenge on his former team before being swept by the reigning champion Houston Rockets in the finals. Now battle-tested, next year was supposed to be the year, and little did they know it would be their last with Shaq. Orlando won a franchise-best 60 games in the 1996 season, and despite looking poised to be contenders, they were no match for the record-setting 72-10 Bulls. The Magic were sent home with a disappointing 4-0 sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals, thus ending Orlando's heyday. The 93 Suns. Nowadays, Charles Barkley is known for his boisterous attitude and antics, but in the 90s, Chuck was also known for being one of the best players in the NBA. You might remember that star-studded 92 Olympic Dream Team's leading scorer was in fact Sir Charles. That summer, Barkley was traded from the 76ers to the Suns, and in his first year in Phoenix, he averaged more than 25 points, 12 rebounds, and a career-best 5 assists to capture the MVP. The Suns surrounded him with role players Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson, and Tom Chambers, resulting in a league-best 62 wins and the best Suns team in franchise history. Despite losing in the finals 4-2, Barkley pushed the Bulls to several nail-biting games, including a Game 3 Bulls win that required Jordan to score 55. The 90s Knicks. Arguably the Bulls' biggest rival throughout the decade was the New York Knicks. Ewing, Oakley, Mason, McDaniel, and Starks led a squad that was the epitome of NBA toughness. They bullied their way into the playoffs every season of the decade, including 3 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. When legendary coach Pat Riley took over, New York immediately turned into contenders. During his 4 years at the helm, he led the Knicks to an impressive 223-105 regular season record, 2 semifinals, 2 conference finals, and 1 finals appearance in '94 after beating a Bulls team sans MJ. But perhaps their strongest teams were assembled the years before. In '92, the Knicks pushed the Bulls to a Game 7 in the semifinals, one of only 2 teams to do so during the Bulls dynasty. The following year, New York had home court advantage and got off to a 2-0 lead in the conference finals, highlighted by a ridiculous John Starks baseline dunk. But once again, the Bulls took over the series. Altogether, the Knicks' playoff dreams were shattered by the Bulls a whopping 4 times during the 90s. Ouch. The 91 Lakers. Everyone remembers the 91 finals for the mid-air hand-switching layup, the Paxson threes, and Jordan finally getting the burden of earning his first title off his back. What they don't remember is just how good the 91 Lakers team was. Magic Johnson, James Worthy, and AC Green were still in the midst of their own dynasty and had made the NBA Finals 9 of the last 12 seasons. That year, Magic was casually averaging over 19 points and 12 assists as the Lakers cruised to 58 regular season wins. They seemed destined to regain the Larry O'Brien trophy now that the tougher Pistons were upset by the Bulls. The series against the Bulls wasn't just a matchup of Magic versus Michael, it was experience versus the up-and-comers. But after a Game 1 win, the Magic soon fizzled out as the Bulls methodically took 4 straight. We now know that would be the last big title run for Magic's Lakers, and rebuilding would soon begin as a result of his career being cut short. The 98 Pacers. The Indiana Pacers might have pushed the Bulls dynasty closest to the brink than any other. In the mid-90s, Miller wasn't just averaging over 40% from three-point range, but was able to get under MJ's skin better than anyone. Combine that with all-stars like Mark Jackson, Chris Mullin, Rick Smits, and the new addition of head coach Larry Bird, Indy was destined for glory in 1998. Behind Miller, Indiana marched to a 58-win season, and the Bulls-Pacers Eastern Conference Finals was a back-and-forth series in which the home court advantage proved to be pivotal. Reggie hit a miraculous last-second shot in Game 4 that seemed like a sign for a passing of the torch. In Game 7, the Pacers jumped out to an early lead, but couldn't hold MJ down in the fourth quarter as the Bulls stormed back for a win. Many call this Pacers squad better than their 2000 team that made the finals. The 96 Sonics. The greatness of the 96 Sonics is often overshadowed by the record-setting 72-10 Bulls. But don't let that stop you from appreciating what the Sonics were able to accomplish. Any other year, fans would drool over Seattle's franchise-best 64-win team that captured the top seed in the West. Prime Gary Payton led the NBA in steals during the playoffs when he wasn't throwing lobs to Shawn Kemp. They had consistency in Detlef Schrempf, shooting from Hersey Hawkins, and an all-time best coach in George Karl. This Sonics team is hands down the best in franchise history if you don't count the relocated OKC Finals 2012 squad of Durant, Westbrook, Harden. The only thing in Seattle's way of a title was quite literally the greatest NBA team of all time. Seattle put up a valiant effort in a 4-2 series loss, but the 96 Sonics will go down as one of the best in history. The 89 Cavaliers. Is there any team who's had their hearts broken more times by Michael Jordan? The late 80s, early 90s Cavs put together a roster that looked like it should have snatched some hardware. Led by legendary coach Lenny Wilkins and all-stars Larry Nance, Mark Price, Ron Harper, and Craig Elo, Cleveland made the playoffs 8 of 9 years between 88 and 96. And 4 of those playoff runs were ended by the Bulls. Sure, you know MJ hit the shot over Elo in 89, but many don't remember that the Cavs were a strong 3 seed knocking on the door. In 92, Cleveland got another crack at it, making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals behind Brad Daugherty's tough inside play, but were sent home by an experienced Bulls squad in a 4-2 series loss. The Cavs' title dreams have been haunted by the ghost of MJ until LeBron finally got them over the hump in 2016. The 92 Blazers. Yes, you remember the shrug, but the Blazers didn't go down easily in the 92 finals. This was the 10th season in a row the franchise had made the playoffs, and Clyde Drexler was determined to prove his name belonged with the elites after losing to the Pistons in the 1990 finals. Joined by Terry Porter, Cliff Robinson, and Jerome Kersey, Portland jumped out to a number 1 seed in the Western Conference with 57 wins. After beating powerhouse teams like the Lakers, Suns, and Jazz, Portland earned a trip back to the finals. Thanks to Drexler's 25 points per game during the series, the Blazers pushed a 2-2 tie before the Jordan finished them off. Many call this Bulls squad the second best of their dynasty. If Portland faced anyone else, they would likely have one more banner hanging in their rafters. The 91 Pistons. The bad boy Pistons kicked and punched their way to 2 straight titles, and by the 90-91 season, Thomas, Dumars, Lambeer, and Rodman had set the NBA standard for winning. They cruised through the regular season with one of the league's highest defensive ratings and felt confident they would beat the Lakers in the finals as they had just 2 years ago. But beforehand, they had to face a young Bulls team in the 91 Eastern Conference Finals who previously weren't up for the task. This year was different. MJ was passing, Pippen and Grant toughened up, and the Bulls ended the Pistons' dynasty. Without that matchup, the Pistons likely achieved the three-peat, and their dynasty stays intact. Who knows how many more titles the Pistons would go on to win had it not been for this devastating sweep. The 97 and 98 Jazz. Making it to the NBA Finals for 2 years in a row is a feat only a few teams have accomplished, and there might never be a greater duo than Stockton and Malone to not win a title. The late 90s Utah Jazz was one of the most talented teams assembled. Lights-out shooting from Jeff Hornacek, fast breaks led by Byron Russell, and overall fluid team chemistry directed by Coach Jerry Sloan put the Jazz within arm's reach. Malone actually edged out Jordan for MVP in '97 after averaging 27, 10, and 5. Stockton, meanwhile, was quietly racking up the most career assists than anyone in NBA history. But 2 years in a row, they faced off against a destiny-driven Bulls team, After taking a 1-0 lead in the 1998 finals, it seemed like the Jazz finally had their number. But once again, MJ put on his cape and took over in several close games. Without the Bulls in the picture, Malone and Stockton would have 2 titles on their resume, which would surely move them up a few spots when ranking the all-time greats. Any particular NBA stories you want us to cover? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, now that you're here, leave us a like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this video. And remember, turn notifications on to receive more amazing sports content. We hope you enjoyed our video, and we'll see you next time at Baller Central.